Here, but the people on YouTube would hear you. Again, we can make things more lively.
Yes, we could.
Thanks. Now that we're up here making jokes. Thank you. All right, are y'all ready? The time is now 6 o'clock and we'll call the meeting to order. Approval of the agenda, do I have a motion?
I so move.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Ms. Levin, will you please lead us?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our first item is approval of the minutes for August 21st and September 4th board meetings. Are there any questions or comments regarding the minutes?
I just wanted to thank Krista for the diligence in covering the tone of things, because I think that a lot of people don't watch the meeting, and the ones that don't might skim the minutes, and so I appreciate your diligence. Thank
Yes.
you.
Okay, hearing no other comments, do I have a motion?
I move we approve the minutes from August 21st and September 4th.
I second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next up are informational reports, starting with the superintendent comments. Dr. J?
Yeah, Madam President, members of the board and guests, thank you all for being here. For those of you new to our board meetings, we monthly celebrate staff and students, so this is an exciting time for us to be able to do that. I have just a couple of things. One, we had a wonderful Be Kind assembly last Friday at our elementary school, and the vision of that is to bring out this group of dancers that really entertain the kids and just make it cool to be nice and kind to people. And a special thanks to Craig Rodolfi here and his wife. They donated the show to us. So he just continues to give back to our district, and we appreciate that. I was so impressed with the kids. Ms. Reichler's done a great job over there, but rarely after an assembly do I go on the announcements and tell the kids how good they were. But they were fantastic, and watching the kids dance in the stands and come out, and some were pulled into the assembly. It was very cool. So thank you, Craig, for that. We appreciate it. We had the homecoming parade last night, and love that it's at the Avenue of the Fountains. I thought it was really well done, so special thanks to Evelyn and her team. I don't have everyone who contributed that, but I know a lot of that falls on Evelyn, and she did a really good job of making that work, and it's a point of pride in our community to have the homecoming parade through the town. And then lastly, just want to give an update on FHU, our new program. We currently, now this is for the whole year, and I do expect it to continue to rise a little bit, but we currently have 114 classes being taken for college credit at the high school. So pretty amazing. When I saw that number at first, I was a little nervous, but I found out it was for the year. So it made Chris a little less nervous as well. But it was, but it's really been a huge hit, and special thanks to the teachers, staff that have put that on, because next year when we report for our CCRI, for our letter grade, all those classes will be counting towards those college courses. So very cool. So with that, I conclude my comments.
Any questions or comments for Dr. J?
Good job. That was awesome.
Yeah, I'd just like to thank you for continuing to think outside of the box on finding unique ways for our kids to get a further education and to make us a district of choice.
And I want to say thank you to Mr. Rodolfi and his wife, because that assembly was incredible. I was there, had everybody dancing.
Next up, we'll start with our district celebrations, and we're going to start with McDowell Mountain.
First, I'm going to say I'm bringing back the fun in FH. It was tie-dye day, and I know I got one clap because she stayed in her tie-dye with me. So sorry about this. So I'm going to start off, though, with our student, Ellie and Norris. You want to come up here, Ellie? This is all about you. Elliot exemplifies the Falcon Way in every aspect of her daily routine. She consistently demonstrates respect and kindness towards her teachers, friends, and peers, creating a positive atmosphere in the classroom. Elliot's willingness to lend a helping hand to anyone in need, combined with her consistent, genuine smile, brightens the day for everyone around her. Her positive attitude, empathy, and enthusiasm for learning makes her an excellent role model for her fellow students. She's always eager to contribute to classroom activities, whether it's independently or in groups. Elliot's spirit and outstanding character make her a true asset to our school's community for Falcon. Keep up the great work.
Krista, can you get a picture? I don't think that
And is her teacher here tonight?
Oh,
Yes. Let's recognize her wonderful teacher as well.
Come on, Jillian.
Come on up.
That's because she looks like a student over there.
Next up, we have the entire fourth grade team. Where are you guys? There you are. You guys, come on up. This is like the rock star team. So I'm pleased to recognize the exceptional work of our fourth grade team. We have Bailey Evans, Ella Rowland, and Diana Perez. As first-year teachers, who didn't know each other, came in and embraced the classroom challenges and excelled in ways that truly set them apart. From the start, this team has shown an unwavering commitment to our initiatives such as PBIS and Beyond Textbook programs. Their dedication to these frameworks are evident in how seamlessly they've integrated them in the classroom and their teaching, creating a positive and productive learning environment for their students. But they're outstanding in communication with families, ensuring that parents are always in the loop and feel like active partners in their child's education. The relationships that they've built with students, staff, and families are a testament to their character and dedication. I couldn't be more proud and honored, and I tell you this daily, to work with you ladies. I'm just like super excited. And their passion and teamwork is just over the top. So I appreciate you ladies, really, I do. So thank you.
Thank you for choosing FHUSD as your first year to teach. We're happy you're here.
Yes.
Oh, I didn't get one to you? Oh, I did. Okay.
Okay, next up is Fountain Hills Middle School with Dr. W.
Okay, hello everyone. Exciting times. Okay. Super excited because I finally have a dedicated school counselor that I want to. I'm in my third year, been through quite a few counselors. Finally, I have a counselor, Allison Lucy, who I'm going to nominate for tonight because she's new to Fountain Hills Unified School District. She has brought a wealth of experience over 31 years of teaching in 5th grade, maybe 4th too, but with that background, she's able to be a very good school counselor. She has already proven to raise that bar so high that our students are so excited to see her, talk to her. She starts her day every day early. She gets there before me, and she's well prepared to tackle the unpredictable day that lies ahead. And she generally likes lunchtime break. Well, she's getting used to it. She is one of my reliable go-tos and offers great solutions to challenges that come our way. She's quite the team player, always willing to step in wherever needed, and is an overall strength to our middle school admin team, our staff, and our students. She connects well with students effortlessly and provides guidance with genuine support. She's very thorough and knowledgeable, and she has made being at Fountain Hills Middle School truly amazing because I walk in every day, I just want to hug her and say thank you, because her learning a new Power School platform, the scheduling, just helping me taking care of these things that I was having to do for the last couple of years, just stepped up and learned it right away and made those schedules done before school started has been like my dream. And I'm so excited to acknowledge Allison Lucy. So come on up. I hugged her in the parking lot. I hugged her inside. She loves being in the public eye.
And of course, she has to get the principal that's all up in her face, all over the place. Okay, one more time.
So I generally like to be able to pick the first student. Usually we have our staff choose our students, but I like to really examine because I'm in and out of those classrooms. I'm everywhere. The students know that I'm everywhere. And so I get to see all the things that are happening in the classrooms and see students work, check out their grades, check in with them. And this one student, Peyton Lalo, our 8th grader, stood out above the rest. And I just want him to know, which I told him before I got here, he like handpicked by his principal for this award for the first one for Falcon of the Month, I think is a big deal. So let me just tell you a little bit about Peyton. From what I've seen, he has shown a lot of enthusiasm for his learning. He takes a proactive approach to his education. He actually raised his hand the other day and thanked me for helping him get his grade better. Do you remember? No. Oh. So I stepped into one of his classes and I said, hey, which students in here need help to get caught up in stuff? And he decided to step up and redo an assignment in social studies while I had other students playing multi-ball, and he took that time to better his grade. So that's what I'm saying. He's doing really good things. But he raised his hand and said, thank you. I was like, oh. He is now in our honors program this year, which speaks volumes about his motivation and commitment to his education. He's consistently producing outstanding work that reflects that dedication. Not only does Peyton actively participate in class by asking questions and contributing answers, but he also excels in building strong relationships with both his peers and teachers. His ability to balance a large circle, we're talking a large circle of friends, with his academic responsibilities and pursuits highlights his well-rounded character. We are thankful to have Peyton in our middle school Falcon family. So come on down, Peyton. I asked him to dance, but he said no.
All right, looks like we like him.
Thank you.
Good job, buddy.
Okay, next up is Fountain Hills High School with Mrs. Pinto.
Good evening. I'm going to start with the students. So Riley, could you come up here, please? This is Riley Holmes. She's a senior. Riley has stepped up to be a true leader for the band. And in the absence of a band director right now, she has taken her role as a drum major very seriously, keeping the group on task and moving forward. When I reached out to her teachers to see if they would agree on my choice, this is what they said about her. Put my glasses on, it's just a lot. She is a hard worker, a very good student, and an all-around great girl. She's a strong and respected leader and has built the band program up from a tough position. Not only do the band students respect her, but the other day she brought cookies for them. When asked why, she basically said the equivalent of how proud she is of their performance and what they've been doing. She's a true leader who shows she cares about the people in the band. Riley is definitely deserving of Falcon of the Month. She's really kind and caring in the classroom, and other kids really respect her. Congratulations. And for my teacher, Mr. Jeff Bonner is no stranger to our community, so Mr. Bonner.
Can we say Hall of Famer, Coach Bonner? Just want to point that out. He's in the Hall of Fame.
So Jeff has been an important part of the Fountain Hills High School campus for years and years and years. When I first met Mr. Bonner, he was our security guard, and I saw how special he had, like his relationships with kids was really special, and I encouraged him to pursue being a teacher, and I'm so darn proud of where he's at now. And he is an absolute team player. Right now, he's our PE teacher, our health teacher, and obviously our basketball coach. But his team player attributes about a month ago, he went an extra mile and practiced his pivoting skills. Trying to get the basketball pun in there. And stepped up to take a middle school class when we had to redo our high school and middle school schedule in the absence of our band director. And so Jeff stepped up and within days took a middle school PE class, worked with the other two teachers to create a program that replaced the middle school music for right now, and giving them some joy in physical education. So we're so proud. Thank you for stepping up and doing that. We really appreciate all your efforts.
Next up is the district office / transportation staff. Mr.
Before
Hartman.
Mr. Hartman starts, I just want to clarify that we picked the entire landscaping team for this, so if you guys could all come up. Chris is going to say a lot of things here, but I just wanted to hear from me that how important they are to our school district. The best group of guys that you could ask for, hard workers, and just fun to be around. So I'm gonna let Chris say all these great things, but I want you all to know how much you guys mean to me, okay? Here we go, Chris.
Did you break it already?
That was quick.
And I don't know how to fix it. Takes a village. Good evening, Dr. J, Madam President, members of the board, members of the board, and guests. You really can't say enough about these guys. 25 years in this business, I have never worked with a more hardworking, kind, selfless group of individuals. We have here transportation and landscaping, but that doesn't really give the full scope of what they do. They clean, they fix, they never complain. They really do, I'd say 99% of the time have smiles on their faces. Times, but for us, their colleagues, they really do step in wherever needed and really symbolize the Falcon Way and what we're all about here. These awards are really about being a team player and doing what's best for kids when no one's watching. So I would just like to introduce again Juan, Christian, Hector, Luis, and Cecilia is not here, so I get his gift. But please keep him in your thoughts as we acknowledge these gentlemen. He couldn't be here tonight, but he is just as important. So these guys have all stepped up and not only landscaped, but cleaned a lot of the campuses and done whatever we've asked. So great job.
Muchas gracias, señores.
She was afraid you'd lose it already. That's why she didn't give it to you. We have to keep him in line.
My pocket.
Next up is the Volunteer Falcon of the Year for 2024. Dr. J, will you be presenting?
I will be. So thank you so much, everyone, for being here tonight. We got one more award, the Falcon of the Year, which now gets their own part of the homecoming parade, which was really cool to see. Mr. Harris from last year. So earlier this last year, Craig Rodolfi here came, and I got to meet Craig a while back, and he came forward and knew we were in a situation where our previous finance director had left in the middle of the year, and we really didn't have any real options to move forward in the middle of the year. Craig stepped up and said, I'm retired, but I love what I do. Took care of the money for the town here, and said, I'll step in and be the acting director for the rest of the year. And so for no cost, did it for free out of the kindness of his heart, came in and kept us moving forward throughout all last year, and then over the summer stayed on and is now helping to mentor Chris in his new position. And I just love when Craig's on campus. He's a hard worker and goes way, way above and beyond. To have someone put in that kind of time and effort is amazing. And then, like I shared earlier, to go ahead and also bring some joy to our kids with the Be Kind project. It just, him and his wife give so much to the community. So I'm so proud to have Craig Rodolfi as part of our team. And although at some point he's probably going to retire officially, we'll still have him come visit us from time to time to stay close to the district. So let's give it up for Craig Rodolfi. Get something special, okay, that does fall, so be careful with that. And then get your challenge coin and certificate. All right, thank you.
Congratulations to all of you that received awards. We're very proud that you are part of FHUSD and representing our district. That's the award part of our meeting. If you'd like to be excused, please feel free to exit now. Otherwise, please feel free to stay and listen to the rest of our meeting. And there's always a mass exit. What? Nobody wants to listen?
It looks like that.
See, we should be giving candy. They stay.
Right. Okay, next up are public comments. Krista, do we have any public comments? No? Okay, hearing none. We will move forward to action items. The first action item is the personnel action. Are there any questions or comments regarding the personnel action?
Yes, it was a custodian. She stayed for 4 hours and
Decided it wasn't for her?
apparently, so
Okay.
unfortunately that happens from time to time, but it was nothing other than in the middle of the day she realized this wasn't for her.
Gotcha. All right. Are there any other questions or comments regarding the personnel report? Hearing none, I move that we approve the personnel report as presented.
I second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any?
I'm abstaining because I'm going to ask some questions about that, follow up on that.
On the personnel?
Yes, yeah,
Okay.
the 4-hour personnel.
Okay,
I just
so
have some questions.
301, Krista. Okay, next up is the retroactive approval of the high school swim course. Dr. J?
Madam President, members of the board and guests. So we're bringing to you tonight a retroactive approval of the high school swim course, swim and dive course. So back when we, in 2023, we brought to the board a series of advanced PE courses. And the intent of the assistant principal at the time, or the high school at the time, was to include that course in the packet of courses to be approved. For whatever reason, it did not make it into the final packet. The packet was individual papers that were fed through the Xerox machine into a PDF document. So I can't explain why they weren't in there, but the administration was under the assumption that it was approved with the packet. I found it in helping another school district reach out about our trimester model and minutes and how we were able to make that work. And so as I was working with them on their new schedule, I pulled up ours and noticed that class, and I was shocked to see it because it was something that I never saw that on there. It was a 0-hour class, separate from the rest of the schedule. And so I brought it to Evelyn's attention. She was very confident it was approved. Krista and I went back and looked, and what we found is that the paperwork was signed, the paperwork was done at the site level, but for whatever reason, I think clerical error, it was not submitted with those courses. So in speaking with our attorney, his advice was to bring it to the board for retroactive approval, which would allow the class to continue. It is meeting at this time, and I could take any other questions, but that's what happened.
Thank you. And yes, I do remember the board approving a lot of the athletic classes to coincide with the teams. Are most of the kids that are in the swim and dive class, are they on the swim team?
It's mixed. It's not a full set, no.
On this form, it does say team athletic PE classes, and then it says must be on team, above where it's highlighted.
That again, I think is the, I look at that as a clerical error on the same situation. There is no requirement for that, and I want to be clear about that. It is probably more times than not, someone is going to be in a class that they have an interest in. They're probably going to play that, but it's not a requirement. We will update that in the new upcoming, we've been making changes to the course guide right now, and we will make those changes and have that published here shortly.
Okay, my only questions were, who's teaching it, and then is it considered a PE class for 0 hour, and is that why we didn't catch it before?
Yes, so it's Patty Schultz, she's our middle school PE teacher. She teaches it, and, you know, for example, in my level, I answer questions to about, hey, does this work? Is there enough time? Things of that nature. When the schedule was being made last year, if you remember, we contracted out to Chris to help us with that because we had a new principal coming in, old principal moving up to finance. We wanted to get him on finance as soon as possible. And I just didn't see that class. It's not in the regular schedule, so it's off to the left, and it's under 0 hour, and it's just something that when I saw it, I thought we needed to repair it and fix it. But I don't think anyone did anything on purpose or anything like that. I think it was a clerical error, but it's something we do need to address because to not have the class be board approved, we'd have to end the class, obviously.
And yes, with the course guide, we don't offer a lot of electives, so to stipulate that they must be on a team, I would like that removed.
Of course,
So
yeah.
I think that this is a great way for kids to try a class and decide if it's
Yeah.
something they would like to do as a team. So hopefully that builds our sports teams as well and gives kids another option for electives.
And that was never an intent, that in my opinion, it was never that was never an intent. But again, we will make those changes as needed, yep.
Thank you. Are there any other questions or comments regarding the high school swim course?
I move we approve the retroactive approval of the high school swim course.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
I didn't vote, but did we need to do it with the change, because it is also under the prerequisite? It says physical completed, registered on the Register My Athlete on FHS team. So do we need to note
Well,
that change in the vote?
That'll have to be the course guide. That's a different thing that will have to come back to us.
And Dave does want on, for example, them having that paperwork filled out serves as kind of a permission to do that activity. So that's part of why they probably put that in that way. But as far as the course guide is concerned, there's changes made yearly to it, and it's just something we need to go and update, which we'll have done this week.
I
Okay?
vote aye.
Okay, so motion carries 4-0. Okay, next up is the update to district certified evaluators. Dr. J?
Yeah, Madam President, members of the board and guests, this is just a quick update. We're adding, I believe, one person here,
The Dean of Students for the middle school.
correct, to be able to do that. And it's pretty commonplace to have the dean do some evaluations. Typically, a first-year dean would do maybe the principal will give them certain ones like classified versus maybe certified in the first year, and then build from there. Our teacher count at each site is quite small in comparison to large districts. So to take on, if the principal were to take on certified and a dean was to take on classified, that's one way to do it, but it gives them the flexibility to do both. We do want our deans to grow, as Ms. Reichler did, into principals, and so this is a good way for them to start that process.
And this Dean of Students was not employed when the board voted on this the last time, so it's just adding her. Are there any questions or comments regarding adding the Dean of Students for the middle school to the certified evaluators? Okay, hearing none, I move that we approve the updated certified evaluator list.
I second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 4-0. Next up is the update to the district notice to suspend. Same thing. This is adding the Dean of Students. It's also adding Mr. Hartman and Ms. Gleason with their titles. Do you have anything to add, Dr. J?
I do not at this time.
Okay. Are there any questions or comments regarding the updated notice to suspend list? Hearing none, do I have a motion?
I so move.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 4-0. Next up is the purchase over $100,000. This is the ESI that we talked about at our last meeting for Mrs. Matus and Dr. McElligott. I did ask Human Resources just because we've had a lot of discussions about contracts versus employees that are employed through the district. And I was just curious as to what the salary would look like if they were employed in the district versus through a contractor, whether it's the ESI contract or when we had to contract out with the special ed. So those are the different amounts that you're seeing in your board packet. And so I just used, for the one, I used a base salary of $75,000. And if this person was actually employed by the district, I just wanted the board to see that it actually would cost us $96,000 for that employee, because we have to match their Social Security, their Medicare, and we have to pay into the Arizona State Retirement Fund, plus workman's comp, the medical expenses, and life insurance. And then same with the two employees, it gave you a breakdown, and instead of paying the State Retirement Fund, the ACR, what does ACR stand for? Do we know?
Don't, but it's what our retired staff pay into when they are back employed with us instead of paying into ASRS.
So do they actually pay that, or do we pay that?
I can't.
Okay, can you ask Kaylee, just for a future meeting? It's not going to be based on this vote, but I just wanted everybody to see a breakdown, because we've had a lot of, if we raised our special ed salary to $90,000,
Well, I
then.
think you actually just proved my point, because if we raised our special ed to 70,000, we would still, our total would be 90,000, but we'd be spending a whole 30,000 less than what we're paying that for-profit company. And that for-profit company, from the research I did, it looks like they only pay about 60,000 or 70,000 for the special ed, and they're turning around and charging us the 114 or the 120. So my thought is that we should bump up our salary and eat the cost ourselves instead of paying a for-profit company and letting them eat some of that cost.
Sure, no, I just wanted everybody to see the breakdown,
Yeah.
just so you know that when we pay a $75,000 salary, it's not just $75,000. It's actually an additional $21,000 on top of that. So it's just something to look at when we're looking at these totals, so.
Well, and with this one specifically, I wanted to just reiterate what I said last time, where I'm going to vote yes on this, even though it's a higher number than I would like to see for one teacher. But the reason that I'm doing that here is because these teachers are people that have put their heart into this district. It's not just a job for them. So like I said last time, we would be doing our district a disservice if we lost these people. And so it's worth spending the money to keep them here. And that's one of the benefits of having in-house employees like Denise. I'm not as familiar with the doctor, but Denise I've worked next to a few times, and someone like that, it's worth keeping them around because you see the way that they change the entire district by the way that they are personally invested in it. And so I will be a yes vote. My only thing is I wish we could renegotiate the fact that they take part of the stipends. I would work really hard to find a way to have that be a bonus that's paid directly to that individual instead of going through the ESI, because I hate seeing them take those huge chunks of a bonus kind of pay.
Okay. Are there any other questions or comments? Okay. Hearing none, do I have a motion?
I move we approve the purchase over $100,000 to ESI.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next up is the 8th grade overnight trip to the Phoenix Zoo. This sounds so fun. So the 8th grade is looking to take an overnight trip to the Phoenix Zoo on April 30th, returning on May 1st. All of the field trip paperwork is in your board packet. It's $75 a student. They can get it from their families or tax credits. And it's an overnight that our teachers are looking to sleep in with the students inside as opposed to tent camping. That might get them some more chaperones as opposed to tent camping in the desert. And they get a pizza dinner, evening snack, a water bottle, guided trail hikes, activities, games, up-close animal encounters, and a continental breakfast and admission to the zoo the next day with an optional stingray experience. Are there any questions or comments regarding the Phoenix Zoo trip?
Looks like fun.
I agree. I move that we approve the 8th grade overnight trip to the Phoenix Zoo.
A second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next up is the long list of policies that we discussed at our last board meeting, policy advisory 763 to 786. We did not get anybody that wanted any changes. So are there any questions or comments regarding those policies?
My only comment, and I didn't feel that we needed to separate it, but was just the one where we removed the numbers for the council members. I do think that we should look at some formula because it was brought up that we could end up with like one-sided kind of situation. So it would be good to maybe establish some formula or numbers to it. Thank you.
Yeah, I would like to leave that at the site level. I think that they're, I know
That's true. It
years
could be each
ago,
site.
right, years ago, the middle school actually held elections for site council, people that wanted to be on site council. I know that's when there were like 1 million parents, right? That they actually had to do like a little election, and there was an election by other parents to see who was going to be on site council. Oh, those were the days. Okay. Hearing none, I move that we approve the policy advisory 763 to 786.
I second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next up is the food program permanent service agreement initiation form. Dr. J, can you give us?
Yeah, I'm going to defer this one to Mr. Hartman.
Mr. Hartman?
Good evening again. This was, I do work with Sodexo in my role, and one of the many values of Greg's, you noticed, I think, early on that we had former people in our positions on the agreement form, so we needed to update it to people that currently worked here. So that was the major change, being Dr. J and myself on that.
And I think that just goes back to the RFPs were probably, I was on one of them years ago, but those documents are signed and dealt with, and then as people change, again, it's probably, with so many things changing and happening, those names that are on there are just from the past, and we need to update it.
Are there any questions or comments regarding the service agreement initiation form?
Good catch.
So this is for the communication that happens between us and the Arizona Department of Education regarding the food program? That's what this is, okay.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, hearing none, do I have a motion?
I move we approve the food program permanent service agreement initiation form with proper names.
A second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next up are policy advisory 787 to 791. We will go through these individually.
Because these are no longer action items.
Nope, now we're just on to information discussion. Okay, the first one is 787, which is policy IJNDB, use of technology, resources, and instruction. It says this policy addresses technologies, including the use of generative artificial intelligence programs and/or platforms in the classroom. Districts may consider other impacts on existing policy documents regarding ethics, academic integrity, and student discipline based on their needs and expectations. Districts may contact policy services for assistance. So let's see here.
I'm just going to share, AI was a very large topic at the As the Law conference. Actually dominated most of the conference, and they did review this policy there. It's really just, I think, a starting point to start getting these policies updated. They took out things like Blackberries and, I'm trying to think of some of the other examples they had of tech from the past and trying to update it with more modern language. And then I think this is an intro into more AI provisions are going to be coming year after year as it grows.
And so that's basically the change to the policy, is it added a whole paragraph regarding the AI AI programs that basically just says the proper use of AI programs can be effective at enhancing student learning and can prepare students with the competencies and knowledge needed in the digital age. Its use should also be guided by responsible and ethical considerations, including mitigating bias, promoting transparency, and providing AI benefits to all students. Use of AI programs in the classroom should be approved by the site or district administrator, and teachers' instructions and expectations should guide the classroom use of AI. Teachers should include relevant lessons on correct and responsible use of AI, and students should be taught standards regarding plagiarism and source citation, and should use these guidelines if AI is used for a school assignment. AI should be guided and monitored by teachers and/or school administrators, and should align with the district's guidelines and policies, including any relevant student rules and responsibilities. AI resources should be available to all students, including those with disabilities and English language learners. Use of an AI system should comply with the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act, FERPA, and should support data privacy and security. That's the only change. Are there any questions or comments that you'd like to discuss on this policy?
No, I'm glad that they put in something about including students with disabilities and English language learners. I'm really glad that's in there too.
All of these policies are in the public board packet as well, so people that go and look at they can access them there as the changes are being made.
Okay, hearing no other questions or comments, we will move on to the next one. This is Policy Advisory 788, which also includes 789, 790, and 791. They basically are all based on the Title IX. This is a very controversial policy that basically changed wording in the original Title IX document, which was implemented in 1972. It has changed the word of sexual harassment to sex discrimination. There are several changes in the wording, and the policy is long. So
Well,
would
that's
you
why I
like
asked
to-
if it was public, because I think
Right.
that people can read the specifics.
Yeah, especially when it's
as long as
something
in the
like this.
overview,
Yeah. So are there questions, or Dr.?
I have, I guess, questions, comments, whatever. So on all of these, it references the August 1st final rule, which isn't really a final rule because there is pending litigation against the Department of Education for doing this. And actually, the Supreme Court did rule that based on and their revisitation of what's called the Chevron doctrine, is that departments were overstepping their authority and changing rules. So the fact that this references effective August 1st, 2024, and in a couple of sections here, it refers to, so let's say on page 118, Civil Rights Act of not that one here. The 20 U.S.C. 1681 Education Amendments of 1972, Title IX, as amended in 2024, Title IX. So if we adopt this as is, we're basically saying that the amendments and rules in 2024 apply, which, based on a litigation, it's still in flux. So at the very least, I know we're not going to vote on this today, but I have problems with that as amended in 2024 language in there. So whenever we get to the point of that, I would propose that gets out of there, or whether we not approve this, because as it stands, I would not approve it.
Yeah, and I would like to point a couple of things out. I know there's been some talk in the community about this, and so, one, this is this comes from the federal government, the Federal Department of Education. This isn't anything that FHUSD just decided to create on our own, or even that ASBA sent us and said, hey, we created this. So this comes from the federal government. It also, they would like to tie it to federal funding, that districts that don't implement it can have their federal funding pooled. There are several states across the United States that have lawsuits against this Title IX. And there are several districts in Arizona that have said, hey, we're not going to do anything with this until the federal government, the lawsuit is filed. And that's kind of my belief on it. I would like to see where this goes, as opposed to just jumping on and saying, yeah, we'll go ahead and approve it. Unfortunately, Arizona is not a state that is part of that lawsuit as of today. When I looked it up, we had not joined the lawsuit, but that doesn't mean that districts have to adopt this policy without that lawsuit being settled. So that's my opinion on it.
I have one other comment too. And if it goes any further, I actually have written a proposed motion for us to say we're not following that, but I won't introduce it at this point, but it's sitting here ready to go if we need to.
Maybe, can you send that to Krista, maybe?
So she can send
Sure.
it to the board?
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a lot of thoughts on this, and honestly, I thought for some reason that once the suit had taken place, that our district had quietly pulled this, since we were not going to be required to adopt a change to this policy. Because the reason that there's a lawsuit is because, unfortunately, politics have infiltrated this policy. If we look at the policy, it was a sexual harassment policy, which stands on its own. We already have a non-discrimination policy, being a public school. I love that Dr. J has always said we take everybody, no matter their learning level, no matter their poverty level, anything. We take any student always. So I think that it's a bit redundant to turn our sexual harassment policy into a sex discrimination policy. And then with what's happening in politics, and that's what I'll call it because it's not just in government. I mean, this is government overreach, but there's a political agenda tied to it, and we saw that. That's why the lawsuit's happening, because it would be completely unconstitutional for them to take our federal funding when we're not discriminating. And if you look at the regulation on this, it's considering discrimination. So it says a recipient with knowledge of conduct that reasonably may constitute sex discrimination in its education program or activity must respond promptly and effectively. An education program or activity includes locations, events, or circumstances over which the district exercises substantial control over both the respondent and the context in which the sex discrimination occurs, and also includes any building owned or controlled by a student organization that is officially recognized by the district. So we already know that they were tying it to wanting to change Title IX to be about protecting transgender students, which that shouldn't even be a discussion in a public school, because we don't discriminate against any student, regardless of any gender or sex discussion we should be having. And this is now saying that we are going to label sex discrimination tied to our locations, which includes our bathrooms and our lockers. Mm-hmm. So we are absolutely opening the door to allowing boys into the girls' restrooms, into the girls' locker rooms, and this I'm not okay with it. I think that we should have left it as it is and said sexual harassment is not okay because it's not, and discrimination is not okay because it's not. And I think that we have a separate policy that covers that. So this policy to me is extremely concerning. I don't like the changes. I think that it was better left the way that it was because we don't deny anybody access to our education program, which is where our stewardship lies based on anything. And so I would urge us to leave it as sexual harassment and keep those things separately because I think that in the end, changing this policy actually opens the door to sexual harassment and a whole lot of liabilities that we don't want.
If I can add on to that.
I just want to address one thing that you said about you thought that our district was just going to kind of be quiet about it.
Well, I thought that because there wasn't that pull the funding
Right.
if you don't change the policy, I thought that we were going to not change the policy.
Right.
And I thought that that was a good way to go.
Yeah, and I just want to address it, like, you know, a lot of these policies, I've kind of waited till we had a fifth board member, which once it was verified we weren't getting a fifth board member, then we had to move forward. And with this, like I said, there's other districts that have taken a stance and said, you know, we're not implementing this. Due to the August 1st deadline and being president of the board, I felt I would be remiss if I didn't bring it to the board to let the board be heard. So that's why it's on our agenda now. I was questioned today, why would you even bring this to the board? Because that's my job. And we keep talking about transparency. This is something that is controversial. It's not an easy subject to talk about, but I felt that the board needed to be heard.
Thank you.
So,
I just want to reiterate what Jill said, that this is coming from the federal government.
that's correct.
So they're just changing the wording. Instead of saying sexual harassment, changing it to sex discrimination, which I think is much broader, and it does go through sexual harassment and everything else. Fortunately, we don't have those problems here, but maybe other school districts do, and I like the fact that they talk about, you know, coercive sexual behavior, things like that. I don't, personally, when it talked about location, I'm thinking elementary school, middle school, high school, where kids are having dances, or, you know, they're out on the football field, that it means that.
But it
I
doesn't
never
clarify.
looked at it as anything specific, like Madison was saying, and I think we're trying to read things into it that aren't there to make it more political. It would be interesting to see what happens with the lawsuit, but knowing how lawsuits go, who knows when that's going to happen? So I hate to have us just sit here and do nothing. Just make sure that we have something in the books saying that we will make sure there is no sex discrimination, including sexual harassment. That's part of it.
Well, Title IX's been in existence since 1972.
That's right.
And the fact that this is 2024 and they're just now deciding to change the words
But that
is
tells you everything.
Right, is a little bit of an
Yeah.
issue for me. Well, not a little bit, it's an issue for me. I believe that sometimes there's too much government overreach that, you know, the cell phone, you know, right now there's a big thing about cell phones. And I'm sure if you read the newspaper, I was quoted in, you know, I wrote a little thing for the newspaper. Sometimes districts need to be able to write policy or amend policies that work in their district. Not all districts are the same. And we haven't had an issue with this. And if we do have an issue with this, I would like to contend with it on that basis. But to just blatantly change these words and then say, well, we're going to tie your federal funding to it, I don't agree with that. So,
Well,
So-
yeah, you had.
Yeah, sorry.
So a couple of things that, you're right that the litigation will probably going to go on for years. But the other issue here, when they change it from sexual harassment, when they refer to the term sex, the proposed final rule redefines what you mean by sex to mean gender, not male, female. So, I mean, one way around it, I think the key phrase is as amended in 2024. If we get rid of that, and again, I'm not an attorney, but that's a real problem because it acknowledges the final proposed rule. So it's still.
That might be a loophole to say no, you mean? I
Well,
think we should
maybe.
say no
Again, I'm not an
anyway.
attorney, but the whole thing just bothered
Well,
me.
in the end, I mean, all of these policies, if you look at the bottom of them, they say this is intended for informational purposes only or something like that, and that they don't back us. Like, they're basically saying, like,
Right.
we don't have your back if this fails. So
We can
we're not
adopt them or not.
required
Right.
Yeah.
to do the policy as written. And then I wish I could pretend that it was an innocent, we're just looking out, we don't want sex discrimination because we've seen it a lot. But if you look at what they've done to Title IX, they're not only making it sound like 1972 makes it outdated, which we just didn't want discrimination, it's a basic thing. They added that one of the main goals is to protect transgender students and students who do not conform to gender stereotypes. Again, I think that's redundant. We protect all students. We treat all students the same. This isn't about one specific group. It's about the safety of all our students. And I really believe that changing that word from harassment to discrimination is redundant, as well as opens the door to the harassment that we're now not having a policy to litigate against or to protect ourselves against.
Okay, are there any other questions or comments? Okay, hearing none, we will move forward.
Do you want that brought back at our next meeting, Jill?
If we're voting on it, I definitely want it separate.
Right, yeah, it would have to be separate.
Okay.
Because it should come back. I mean, it wasn't an action item this time, it was an information discussion. So it should come back because the board should have the option to vote yes, no, or table.
Okay.
Is it something that we must do now, or can we wait till January?
It's a proposed policy change. What was happening was that the current administration was trying to tie the the funding to it, because we're federally funded, and so it says any federally funded institution cannot discriminate, which I don't believe we've been discriminating.
Correct.
And so I don't think that we need to change it from
Because-
sexual harassment to discrimination.
Because the August 1st date, I would like the board to have the option of voting on it.
Okay.
We do have a policy right now, right?
We
With
do,
this?
yeah.
Well,
okay.
and Title IX still stands.
Mhm.
Yeah.
There
The
is a
question is,
Title
what's the
IX.
final rule, right?
Right,
Yeah.
so, I mean, we still adhere to Title IX as it stood since 1972. Right.
Correct.
So,
Okay.
which, you know, Title IX originally, basically, if a girl wanted to play on the boys' football team, that's usually when parents use Title IX. Those are the biggest ones that I've heard,
Right.
is that because we didn't have a girls' football team, you couldn't discriminate from her being on the football team, you know, because we didn't offer that option.
And you had to fund women's sports equally with men's sports in
Correct.
college. right?
That's where Title IX primarily
That's
was brought up.
That's exactly what Title IX was, right?
Rich, to answer your question, the policy, like if you added and subtracted all the things that they've like underlined and crossed out, that would give you the policy, but what I can do is I can email you all the policy as it stands without all of that stuff in it.
That would be
So
Please.
our current policy.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Can you also send us the policy that we have on discrimination? I'm sure there's somewhere that it says we're not allowed to discriminate.
Based on sex, gender, you
Yes.
know,
Yep.
race,
Yep.
age, all the other reasons you're not allowed to discriminate against people. Okay, next up is the AZCTE Curriculum Consortium, I hate that word, intergovernmental agreement, consortium. Dr. J.
Madam President, members of the board and guests, I'm going to call up our CT director here, Ms. Meekum, and she's doing a great job, and she's going to present this to you.
Oh, still I'm not presenting, I'm just answering questions.
Well, maybe a quick
Well,
overview of what it is.
Tell us what it is.
Absolutely. Dr. J made a very good decision in hiring and bringing on board George Zaleb. He's been doing an amazing job with our digital communications kids. Currently, he has, I think, around 71 students in his classes. They really enjoy it, and he has such a varied, just such a rich background that he can speak to photography and digital communications and all of those things. And so, but that being the case, he's really having to kind of pick and choose and trying to figure out the curriculum. We don't have a set curriculum. We found some old books somewhere, but it doesn't really do it justice. So I reached out to some of the other CTE directors, and they all said, absolutely go with Arizona Curriculum Consortium. So I started looking into it, and I think that you all were given the link. Did you get the
I
link
couldn't,
to that?
couldn't get in though.
Oh, okay.
I tried, yeah.
If you want me, I can sit down with you and go
Okay.
through it. If you can get into it, up at the top, there's a word that just says hubs, and go down to those hubs, and it will give you a list of all of the CTE programs that they covered for curriculum. And by curriculum, it's all teacher, all the teachers that have gotten together, they put it together. It's kind of like a teachers pay teachers thing. However, it would be an annual membership. I think it was $1,275. They cover, EVA uses them, Pima JTED uses them, Westmec uses them, along with 130 other districts, CTEDs, private, parochial, and charter schools across the state. Because it was originally designed with the Department of Education, because they knew that they needed some CTE curriculum. There wasn't anything really great that spoke to the standards that Arizona had set up. So actually, I was at a Department of Ed meeting this morning, and they were one of the presenters for the Department of Ed and spoke to the curriculum piece on CTE. So it has a great, and I sat down with both Allison Campbell, because she would be able to use it for sports med, and also George, and showed them what it had to offer. They were both really excited about it and could see how they could really utilize what's on there.
Is it like a beyond textbooks for CTED?
It's more resources, and it's the nuts and bolts of the curriculum. So it goes through, it has PowerPoints, it has assessments, worksheets, and all the things so that they don't have to recreate it, and they can just.
Look, I'm gonna have to start calling you Chris. She didn't break it.
So yes, it is very much like beyond textbooks in that respect.
Interesting, okay. Are there questions for Ms. Meekum?
I just have one question. I mean, this is Pima County, they just happen to be leading it? It's just odd that it wouldn't be Maricopa, but...
For whatever reason, they were the ones that kind of picked up the ball and ran with it.
All right, thank you.
I think this is awesome. I like the, collaborative effort. My only concern is similar to what I have with, textbooks, which is, even though it's called resources, it is somewhat of a curriculum. Is there a way that proper oversight is happening? Like, I know you're willing to sit down, which I really appreciate. You're willing to sit down with us. Are parents going to have access to what their kids are learning from, or,
Well, because it's proprietary and because it is accessed through a password, and if you give out the password, then anyone can use it. It can, and it's annual membership based, so it'd be tricky to do that. So the access that they would have is through the teachers, through whatever the teachers are giving to the students.
so are these?
And as far as vetting it, they vet everything before they don't just willy-nilly put up any kind of curriculum or worksheets or anything like that.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely.
And I do like that more than one class can use it. That, we've looked at other options, so for our CTE, that's great.
Well, and one of the other things that Allison, that we noticed under health, the health science technologies, if you look at that hub, she was looking at that and she saw that there was bioscience there, and she got really excited. She said, oh, I could do a whole unit just on bioscience, and because she could access all of the other curricula that is available.
I think it's a great help for our teachers, especially for George starting out and having that many students and having to do all the different things.
Well, and because he's doing digital photography and, just all of the other components to it, absolutely.
Yeah.
Great. Okay, that'll be on our next agenda as an action item. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next up is the request for proposal for our real estate broker services. This is regarding the old Four Peaks building. Dr. J?
Yes, Madam President, members of the board and guests, Mr. Hartman is going to take questions. Just to give you an overview, I've asked that Chris and his team, with Craig, Tyler, and the rest of the finance team, to put together an RFP to get a realtor, get to that point where we can list the building, go through that process, any other needs we have with a realtor in the future. We have that there. And once that RFP is in place, so it takes a while to go through any movement on the building itself or decisions that we're going to make on the realtor and all that would most likely come to the board after the new board is seated. So this would just be to get the ball rolling on the RFP process.
Yeah, just to add to that, this is my first RFP. It's a good one. We have some coming down the pike too, and with Sodexo and Ruth in the spring. But 37 pages of light reading for you. Tyler had a template that Haley had used, attorney approved, and we filled in the blanks, if you will, adjusted the timeline, which can still be adjusted. If you all and Dr. J would like it to be. So that you have 2 reads here, hopefully vote on the first or the second. And then there's some posting rules that we, again, the timeline that you have is posting by the 15th. We have October break in there, and then it has to be on our website. And then I send a ad for the newspaper. It has to be in the paper for 30 days. And then the whole process of a committee interviewing or listening to proposals from prospective brokers, voting and deciding on one we'd like to bring to you all, and then go from there with their presenting to you and deciding as a group. So.
Yeah, this won't come back as an action item until the October 23rd. No, I'm sorry, it comes back October 1st. Yes, October 1st. So yeah, so your timeline should be fine. I did talk to Dr. J about this, and while I'm fine with the RFP and voting to move forward with the RFP, I did ask him to wait for any decision that's brought to the board on a vote until the new board is seated, that I didn't feel that it was fair for me to vote on something that I'm not going to be part of next year. So,
I appreciate that. That's awesome.
yeah, that I'm not going to be the one that makes any decisions on whether it's a good offer to sell the building or anything. I did my part on getting it on the ballot. So, yeah, that nothing will be brought to the board other than this RFP until the new board comes.
Yeah, I read it so many times I've lost track, but I think it's a January vote-ish, or February vote-ish.
Yeah, it looks like the date closes on December 3rd for RFPs to come in. And then, yeah, so,
I appreciate that, Jill. That's really respectable.
yeah.
To not vote on the way out. I like that.
Yeah, not on something like this, so.
Yeah, thanks for the light reading.
Yeah. My only question is, can the timeline change on that pre-solicitation conference? Because I missed that yesterday. I wish the board could have gotten was that held?
Today, right?
Or today at 2 a.m.? I mean, 2 p.m., I mean.
The pre-solicitation conference has been moved to October as well. That must be maybe that's an older version.
Okay.
Yeah, it says
Okay, it does
September
say-
18th,
Yeah,
but.
So can we get an invite to that? Because I would definitely appreciate being filled in. Thank you.
Okay. Are there any other questions or comments for Mr. Hartman? Okay, any other questions or comments regarding the RFP? Okay, that'll be brought back for action on October 1st.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, future action. I have asked for the SPED presentation to be in November, right, Krista?
Yes.
So we'll be working on with Leah. If you do have questions that you would like Leah to answer, it would be helpful if you sent those to me or to Krista as I put together some talking points for her. So
When is that one, sorry?
it's going to be in November. Do you remember what date we told Leah, Krista?
I think we gave her the option of either date in November.
Okay. So if you could just send them to me by the end of October,
Okay.
that we can give her some talking points.
Maybe
And,
like mid-October.
okay,
so
mid-October.
she can prepare.
Yeah, true. Well, it just seems like that's so close.
I know, it is.
Now that we've approved the policy regarding the emergency response plan discussion, at our next meeting, we will have an executive session to go over that ERPD. And then strategies for boosting enrollment, club policies, and the fifth grade would like to bring back their field trip to Catalina to talk more about that. So, and then also Climate Tech and Bel Air could not be here tonight, so they will be.
I don't have that on there, I'm sorry.
That's okay. But are they coming to the next meeting?
Again, we gave them the option of, Ron is still working with them, so we
Okay.
don't know if it'll be the 1st or the 23rd. But
Okay.
I told them
One of those October dates. Gotcha. Okay, next of meetings will be October 1st. Again, that will start with an executive session at 5 o'clock. And then October 23rd will be a regular meeting here at 6 o'clock in the Learning Center. And with that,
I move we adjourn.
I second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
7:15. That's what happens when you have to read 500 policies.
Yeah. Don't forget the first really long meeting. I have to get out of town the next day for the house.